What's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. So I thought I'd do a match reaction to the game that finished last night. Falkirk 0, Celtic 1 in the Scottish Premier League. Celtic staying 6 points behind Hearts in the table and going ahead of Rangers with a 1-0 victory over John McGlynn's Bains in the Scottish Premiership last night. Very undeserved. I thought that was fucking atrocious again. Absolute garbage in terms of performance, but we got the win. We didn't deserve a win, in my personal opinion. Falkirk were by far the better side. They had the better chances. We were absolutely terrible again. We see this all the time with these players. This is why we need players in, but this board is not going to do it. It annoys the hell out of me. It really does. Celtic, very fortunate to get the victory. Falkirk should have won. Falkirk should have won. They were by far the better side. They had better chances. They had more control of the game, particularly in the first half. Celtic had a little spell towards the end of the first half where we got the goal and stuff like that. But we were absolutely atrocious again. Absolutely pathetic in terms of performance. Go through the team. Schmeichel didn't do a lot wrong. Kept it at 1-0 and got us the 3 points, basically. Really good save from Williams after Celtic completely screwed it up in defence. Absolutely terrible. It really was. I thought that the defence was atrocious. I thought that, Arojo on the right-hand side, I thought he had an okay game, but he was a bit suspect defensively at times. He's so much better going forward, I think, which is a concern. I thought that Trusty looked dodgy. He gave the ball away a few times, for that chance. Him and McCowan completely screwed that up, and Falkirk should have taken advantage of it, and they didn't. Schmeichel saved it. But yeah, Trusty was really dodgy. Scales was okay, didn't really make too many mistakes. Was the best out of the back four. Tierney, that was atrocious, getting beat every single fucking time by rejects, with all due respect to Falkirk. He gets beat all the time now, Tierney, absolutely terrible. That ball over the top where he got completely skinned by the winger, who got in behind him too easily, absolutely atrocious. And that chance, he was beaten as well. The guy flicked over his head and hit it, and Schmeichel made a good save. Yeah, that was atrocious from Tierney. He's not got it anymore, to be a starter, in my opinion, been a disaster since he came back, in my opinion. Yeah, that was terrible. Tierney, I thought, was really poor. Like I said, he used to be so good at 1v1s, but he's not got it anymore. He gets beat all the time now. It's pathetic. From Tierney, it really is. It's not his fault in terms of injuries, but he's just not the same player. Midfield was non-existent. McGregor didn't stamp his authority on the game whatsoever. Engels went missing again. Engels was good against Dundee United. Then he has a poor game. We don't see it often enough. Nygren got the goal, was probably the best out of the three, but I still don't think he did a lot in the game. And then the wingers, Yang and Tanetki, they tried, but they ran out of steam, basically. Tanetki, flatters to deceive. He does something brilliant, then he does something terrible. Same with Yang. Yang has a good game against Dundee United. He has a good game against Rangers. Then he has a poor game against, Falkirk last night. Terrible. Maeda was absolutely atrocious. He's a man down. Get rid of him. He doesn't want to be here. Just get rid of him. I don't think any of the subs made a difference, really, to be honest. We're lacking so much quality. But the game started, and Falkirk were dominant. Falkirk should have been in front. They were playing by far the better football than us. We were atrocious. Simple ball over the top. The guy literally skins Tierney inside out. He goes inside Tierney too easily. Schmeichel has to come out, and the guy literally put it over the bar. He should have scored. It was really poor from Tierney. What on earth was he doing? It was just atrocious. It really was. There was another chance where the ball got played down the line. The guy cut inside and hit it straight at Schmeichel. It was really, really poor from Celtic. It really was. Celtic did have a half chance from a corner with Maeda. A header from a corner which Scott Bain pushed away. That was a good opportunity which Maeda should have taken more control of, but he didn't. Celtic, we're still playing terribly at this point, but Celtic, against someone to play, Falkirk will be kicking themselves. They didn't get 3 points, against a Celtic team, which is shit. I'm sorry, but that Celtic team is not a Celtic team in a million years. They're pathetic. Pathetic bunch of players, pathetic board as well, who need to be ousted from the club. They're absolutely useless as well. They played their part last night, that they always do, with, not backing a club legend. They don't back anybody, that board. They just need to go. Simple as that. I've had enough of this crappy board. I really have, and these players. Does my head in. But Celtic did get the goal, against someone to play. It was Benjamin Nygren. It's a good corner from Engels. whipped in, and then Nygren, really good header into the back of the net, and Celtic took a 1-0 victory, 1-0 lead into half-time. They didn't deserve it whatsoever. The second half, you know, Falkirk came out, played the same way. I don't think Celtic got going whatsoever, you know, and, yeah, you know, Schmeichel kept it from going one each. Really poor for McCowan. You know, McCowan came on, did nothing. You know, very poor for McCowan when he came on. You know, it was a mistake by him and Trusty. It comes through to the player who flicks over Tierney and then hits it. You know, Tierney dives in. What is he doing? Just stay on your feet, for fuck's sake. Drives me fucking mental when defenders do that. Guy flicks it over him, hits it, and then Schmeichel saves it. Really good save. And that was it in the second half, really. Nothing really happened. You know, Celtic got the victory, undeserved in my opinion. We got Talbot, whatever they're called, in this Scottish Cup at the weekend. You know, be a rotated squad, I imagine, for Martin O'Neill. You know, we are getting results under O'Neill. You know, performances have been absolutely diabolical under O'Neill at times, you know, but we are getting results, but that's not the point. O'Neill deserves, you know, signings. You know, we deserve signings as well. The amount of money that fans pump into the club is ridiculous. You know, this board is fucking useless. But yeah, we got that Scottish Cup game. You know, Martin will probably make a load of changes because we've got a massive game the following week in the league against Hearts. You know, the game against Bologna, I don't think we'll win that. I think we'll get beat. So, to me, that's a write-off, you know. But the game at the weekend against that team, that lower league team, we should be beating them pretty comprehensively. Whether we do or not, it's another matter. You just don't know with the Celtic team. They're a Jekyll and Hyde. You know, they'll have a good performance against Dundee United. Then they'll have a terrible performance against Falkirk and get the win. Or against Rangers, they'll get beat when they're dominant in the first half, then absolutely shocking them second. You know, that you just don't know. This is a terrible Celtic side. But yeah, on to the game at the weekend. You know, obviously, Hearts beat St Mirren last night. Hearts, fair play to them. The last two games have been down to 10 men, but they've managed to get the results against Dundee and against St Mirren as well. So, you know, Hearts are not dropping away. They're going to be up there, you know, and obviously Rangers will be up there as well. So we just need to keep winning. You know, we need signings in. Are we going to get it? Probably not with this board. You know, even if they get the signs in, the board still needs to go. Nicholson needs to be ousted. That guy's useless. Learning lessons from last transfer in my arse. You know, world class in everything we do. Fuck right off. Useless in everything we do. That's what he should be saying. They all should be out the window. That board. You know, statue through their front window. That's what I would do if I was a Celtic, if I was living in Glasgow, against these people, getting in their face outside the ground and saying, what exactly do you do for this club? Nothing, please go. That's what I would be doing. But yeah, that's my reaction to the game. You know, we got the win. Grateful for the win, to be honest, against Falkirk. But yeah, I'll be back with any transfer news that breaks. There probably won't be any, let's be honest. And with a reaction to the game at the weekend in the Scottish Cup. But yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.